You are watching the CNBC-TV18 budget verdict. We're poring over the fine print with the architects of Budget 22 and India's top CEOs who are quizzing the budget makers. This is the first post-budget dialogue between government and industry. We are now joined by Tuhin Kanta Pandey, the DIPAM secretary. Mr. Pandey, many thanks for joining us here on CNBC-TV18. You know, just before you came on, sir, we were talking to the Revenue Secretary, Tarun Bajaj, and I think he made a very telling comment. He said that there is perhaps an underappreciation of how complex these privatization and strategic disinvestment processes are. And what he said was that, look, we have to be, as bureaucrats signing off on these files, we have to be very, very careful so that these decisions don't come back to haunt us 10 years down the line. How much of that is weighing on this whole process? The fact that you need to ensure that every T is crossed and every I is dotted?
Of course, our process is very robust, and it involves a number of committees. It's not really an individual who is actually deciding. And the whole process has been tested now. We have accomplished the first privatization, which is the Air India. And of course, the second one, which is going to close now, is the Neelachal Ispat. So end to end, this we have tested the process. There is an interministerial group, which has number of ministries, and there is a core group of secretaries on disinvestment. And on the apex, there is a alternative mechanism, which is a group of ministers authorized by the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. We are also supported by transaction advisors, asset valuers, legal advisors, and we undertake the typical M&A transaction in a public process through open bidding, including the expression of interest, first stage and the second stage. The process is robust, but it certainly is time-taking because it's quite different from dilution of stake sale in the market. It's actually transfer of management control. So therefore, the potential bidders, they undertake long and elaborate due diligence, also negotiate the share purchase agreement, and before they are ready for financial bidding. And then, of course, there is an issue of reserve value fixation, which is an independent process again, which we do it only after the financial bids have been locked in, so that there is absolutely no chance of anybody getting any whiff of any this. And this reserve price is only merely a benchmark thing in order to satisfy us that we have, advised by the professional valuers, we have at least be able to get the certain value which is there. But ultimately, it is the market price which is determined by the bidding process. So I don't think that it's a process which is long, but it is a well thought of process.
Right. Mr. Pandey, let me address the issue of, your comment that you made to me when we were talking about the Air India transaction yesterday. And you said that it wasn't really about generating revenue because, at least as far as the case of Air India was concerned, the government wanted to stop the bleeding of taxpayer resources and taxpayer money. Is that going to be a priority when you look at the next list of transactions, to stop more government resources, more good money after bad, as opposed to perhaps, focusing on high revenue generation? Is that also part of the rationale behind a lower target?
You're absolutely right, Shireen. Actually, we had a look at it, what the very high targets tend to do. They really don't help us out. We have to complete the transaction in the best possible manner. We also have to be mindful that we have listed companies where a large number of stakeholders, minority shareholders are involved. And we can't be, going for abundant supply, other than IPO. We can't really be, releasing the supply short intervals, which will create a price overhang for our stocks. So therefore, the right disinvestment strategy is to do opportune thing at the opportune time at the right valuations. And important consideration that you mentioned are absolutely correct. One is that we are looking at what are the opportunity cost of government, the particular enterprise remaining in government control? Now, should you be, if you are in disinvesting through the privatization route, which means the transfer of management control, what will be the impact on the production, the productivity, the return on equity, what will be the impact on employment generation and sustainability of that enterprise? Now, if these are very important considerations. The second is, of course, as you rightly said, is whether we are, using, more of taxpayers' money just in order to sustain that organization. And if it is a profit-making organization, what's important is that whether you are reaching the potential of that organization, whether you can create more capital infusion, whether you can have improved the management there, whether you can have better decision-making in the light of very fast technological change that is undergoing, fast technological change which is happening, where you require nimble decision-making. These considerations are increasingly important from the point of view of reforms of an economy, where we have to actually compete in a global market.
I think that is a very clear response coming in from the DIPAM secretary on what is going to be prioritized as the government gets ready for the next round of strategic disinvestments and privatization. So it's not just about generating revenues for government coffers, but it is also about ensuring that there are savings accrued by way of not pumping in more capital into companies and throwing more good money after bad. But let me get Vinayak Chatterjee back into the conversation. Vinayak, you had a question for the DIPAM secretary.
Yeah, thank you, Shireen. Mr. Pandey, the congratulations on the Air India deal. I have a question for you on the national monetization pipeline. There is a disinvestment target of whatever 80,000 crores now, but there is a much bigger target of 6 lakh crores on the national monetization pipeline. And that is over 4 years, which means it effectively means a 1.5 lakh crore target per annum for the next 4 years. That's double the disinvestment target. The situation there, as we understand it, is that it is not asset sale. The national monetization pipeline follows a more circuitous route of management change and operations handover by transferring the operating responsibility, or shall we say through concessioning agreements, which is fundamentally PPP in nature. So 2 questions I have for you. 1, will it be your department that will take responsibility for meeting the national monetization program targets? And 2, do you think do you think potential investors today have sufficient confidence in PPP frameworks to be able to confidently bid for concession frameworks?
Well, you're absolutely correct, Mr. Chatterjee, is regarding, the distinction between the privatization or disinvestment and asset monetization needs to be made clear. Asset monetization essentially is a very important component of our national infrastructure pipeline. How to meet it?